Hi guys and girls, and welcome to another episode of Kook Shed, my own little YouTube channel where I share some tips and what I think are handy hints related to surfing, bodyboarding and some skating. Just information that might help you out and help you get the most from your sport or recreation, and might just make life a little easier for you, hopefully. Today we are going to talk about fixing bodyboards. In particular, we're going to try out some SpongeRez. Now, SpongeRez has been around for years. It's designed or marketed primarily for fixing bodyboards. It's basically a type of silicone that is safe for using on bodyboards like polyethylene, polypropylene, decks, cores, and the slicks as well, slick bottoms, the Serlin slicks and the HDPE slicks. So this stuff is pretty safe to use. Now you can use other silicons. I know some people, I've tried it as well, have used Sikaflex. It's like a building glue. It's used for all sorts of things actually. But it can be a bit messy, and the one I had was black too, so I think you can get different colours of it, but I just had the black one, and so it was good for patching up an old bodyboard. But yeah, I would like clear, preferably some clear stuff. This is clear. You can get some clear silicone from your local hardware store as well. Probably one that's used for like bathrooms and wet areas. That would probably be the best one to look for if you can't get any SpongeRez. But I would be cautious because some of those glues and solvents can be not good for bodyboards. So that's use at your own risk using those products. So today we're just going to focus on SpongeRez. It's yeah, the old school bodyboarding fix, glue fix stuff. Okay, so what I've got here is got a cool older bodyboard, older style. It's a Science MS7, Science 7, Mike Stewart design. So after Mike Stewart left Maury, he went out on his own and created Science bodyboards. He's had some really good shapes come out of that company. What I love about the Mike Stewart designs is, to the untrained eye, this might just look like another bodyboard, but I just get the impression with Mike's boards that every centimetre of this board has been well thought out from years and years of trial and error, research and design. And when there's something there's a feature on this board, or a line or a curve or whatever, the width of the nose or the tail, everything has been thought of to work with the other parts of the board really, really well. So I love the Mike Stewart boards. They're really great. So I don't want to mess this up. What we've got is there's a big chunk just there, right? So that's I don't know how that's happened. It's like you know, maybe a fin chop or something in the back of their car might have taken some foam out there. So I'm going to just chuck a bit of the SpongeRez in there. Also, on the tail, you probably can't see it, but it's been dropped on its tail a couple of times, and these two tail corners, very, very minimally, they're just sort of coming away a little bit from where they've been glued up or sealed when it was being manufactured. So all I'm going to do is just pop a little bit of this SpongeRez on these corners to just make sure that they stay as they are and don't get worse. Nothing major, we're not going to do anything major. If you have a tail corner of a bodyboard that's peeling up, which is very common because people just drop them on their tails or stand them up for a long period of time with something heavy on top of them. You might want to get like a G-clamp and maybe a little piece of wood or something to clamp that on, so when it's setting, it's holding that corner back down with the to the core of the board. You might have to come up with some sort of a little contraption to keep the pressure on that tail corner. This one isn't lifting, these aren't lifting per se, but sometimes you can get them and they're really like sticking up in the air. So you might have to come up with something a little bit more elaborate than what I'm doing for the corners that are sticking up a lot. The one thing you'd have to watch for with that is that the glue doesn't stick to whatever you're using to keep that bottom skin down. You might want to put a layer of plastic, like plastic bag or something, and then peel that off the glue later on once it's set. Rightio, so we'll start with the corners, I guess. This is basically, it's not about the actual specific damage to the board on this video. It's more about just showing someone who might want to give it a go and fix their Boog. That's just showing them how to get started. So first of all, your board should be clean. Should be clean and dry. So this board, I know for a fact, has been out of the water for well over a week or two. So there's no problems there. There's no water logging, there's no water coming out. So it's pretty good. It's a nice, clean, dry surface. So that would be my first step, is prep the board. Make sure, I'd maybe even give it a little wash with a wet cloth or something to get the salt off, if it's got salt on it. And that will help the glue bond better. And yeah, just make sure it's a clean surface. So we'll give this a go. I got this from Terry Fleming actually. Terry Fleming used to run Manta bodyboards back in the day. He was crucial to the success of Manta bodyboards back in the day, and he still sells SpongeRez. He sold me, I got this off eBay, and yeah, it was from Terry Fleming himself. So we're just going to give it a go here. We're just going to squeeze it. You have to pop the seal. I just got an old fin key and pop the seal. And I've just squeezed a little bit out. It's clear. You don't want too much. You want to start slow. So I've just got a little tiny little bit there. Now, one thing I do want to say, some people like me will just use their finger to apply the product, but you can also use a paddle pop stick. That's carries over from surfing with surfboard resin. You might want to use that to keep your fingers clean, keep any dirt or something, oil or grease or whatever is on your fingers. You might want to use this to keep any contaminants out of this product when you're putting it on. But I'll try this a bit later to show you. But we're just going to use a finger here because I've just done that all the time. And yeah, so I've just got a tiny little dab, and I'm just sort of working it into the crack around the joint. Okay. So actually, yeah. Okay, so all I've done is just grab a dab of this and applied it to that corner, and I've just pushed the slick down, the slick corner that was slightly lifting up. I've just pushed it in, just wiping my hand there to get the glue off. Rightio, and that should just keep that corner down, seal the joins from any water getting in and things like that. That's all I'm going to do for these corners, because they're like I said, they don't need much at all, and if anything, like, I'm just being fussy and doing it for the sake of the video really. I've ridden boards with much worse peeling than this. So yeah, this one, the tails, this slick skin was sort of popping up a bit, so I've just given it a push. Just giving it a push there to pop it down under the other pieces surrounding it, the tail piece and the rail piece. So yeah, that's it, about back in as far as it can go. Okay, so it's got a clean area there. Just grabbing a bit of this. Another daub, just one tiny little daub. That's heaps. That's all you need. Start with not much, and if you need more, well then get more out and apply it. But you don't want too much, because then it's just excessive. You might get it, you know, flaking off or getting in the way, or bumps on it and all sorts of trouble. It's just always best to use a little bit and work from there. You know, you don't want too much excess there. Alright, so I might just give that a little bit more. It's coming out a little bit dry, I've noticed, like compared to other like silicons and stuff. It's a little bit drier, like it's already quite tacky. I don't know whether that's an issue with the metal container, the metal tube, or what. But it gives you more time, I guess, to work with the thing. It's quite dry. It's quite malleable, but it's definitely feels more dry than, say, other silicons. Now I don't know whether that's because it's been sitting there. I've had this a while, but it shouldn't be doing that if it's not supposed to do that. Okay, so I've just chucked a little bit on there. Now that should just sort of protect those corners from any further peeling up. And I'll keep an eye on them too, and if I notice any peeling or spoiling of the plastic of this stuff, I'll give it another application. I might even try a different sealant just to see how that goes. That's if this doesn't work. It's always a trial and error process. Finding what works for you and what works for your equipment. Right, so those two have got a little bit on the tails, on the tail corners. We're just going to see how that goes. Now I would allow 24 hours at least for this stuff to really set before you take it in the water. You don't want to damage the seal that you've sealed up. So yeah, give it a good while to dry. I'd keep it in a dry area that's good for drying things out. It's not too damp and things like that. You don't need to leave it in the sun. It's not sun activated like some of the surfboard resins. It's not UV activated. This is simply going to dry by the air temperature, not the UV level. So you don't need to put this board in the sun for it to cure at all. Right, now this is a big one. This is a big hole here, so we'll give this a go. Now some people might not worry about this. I probably I wouldn't have, except I'm making the video, so I thought it was a good hole to sort of give a go at patching for you, so you can see what I'm doing. But if you've got something like that and you don't have this stuff, for whatever reason you can't afford it, or I don't know, you don't have access to it, just jam some wax in there. Just get some bodyboard and wax and just fill that hole, and that'll stop water going in those open cells. So what happens when you break the cells of these deck skins or core or whatever that aren't waterproof, you're leaving these cells open to absorb water. So that's all we're doing. We're going to hopefully seal that up so it's not going to absorb any water into the broken cells that have been torn there when whatever it is has dinged it or damaged it. So once again, start small. I'll just get a little dab, whatever you want to call it. I'm just going to fill that hole up. Just going to fill it up. Right. So it needed a little bit more. Just filling it in. So I'm just working the. I know you can't see very well from there. I know. Probably better if I had it zoomed in, but like I said, it's not specific. It's not specific to this particular ding. It's just to show the method. A little bit more. Right, and that should do it. Yeah, see, it's already tacky. It's already a little bit tacky. I don't know if I like that. I sort of like it to be a little bit wet until I'm finished applying it. So that's one thing I'm finding, unless this is an old batch or I've left it sitting around for too long, but I hadn't opened this. This wasn't opened, so now I just want to show you this paddle pop stick. Like I'm happy to just work this over with my finger, but yeah, if you've got like a bit of excess, I'll even put a bit extra on just so I can really work with it. It was a big hole actually. It was quite a big ding. I'm just filling it in. Look, it's not going to be, you know, I'm not doing it for showroom condition here. I'm just doing this to protect my board while I ride it. So yeah, what you could do is get this and sort of, you could just flatten the edge. Like you can use it to shape the glue that's in the hole. So if there's any lumps or if there's any areas that you want to smooth out, inconsistencies is the word I was looking for. If there's any of them that you wanted to get rid of, so it sort of looks like, or it brings it up flush, you can use this to sort of flatten it, get a more uniform edge that like your finger might not be able to do. So yeah, you could even just scrape it like that, scrape that way, scrape off the deck there. But I'm happy with it as it is. So I'm just thought I'd just show you. There we go. Good. Okay, so that was my experience with SpongeRez. A little bit dry. I don't know whether it's old stock, like I said, or whether I've just maybe somehow let it get dry or something. But it was good in some ways because it wasn't sticking all over my hands, and it was already a little bit tacky, and you can sort of mould it and use it. I'm not sure if that's how it's supposed to come from the manufacturer, but that's what I got. And like I said, if you don't like that texture, go get some silicone, board safe silicone that's going to work with polyethylene, polypropylene, and it's not going to melt through your board or something like that. So one thing I would do is, I don't know if you can see it, but that's the sealed up area now. I would, when I go to get this board back in the water, I'm going to chuck just a little bit of wax over that as well. Just some bodyboard and wax over the top, just to really keep the water out or away from that damage. Now, one thing I want to mention is, before I go, is this is a polyethylene core, right? So this is the original Dow core. It's a PE, polyethylene core. It's a more flexible bodyboarding core than, say, Polypro, which is sort of the standard these days, PP. But PE is great for cold water. Some people really like their PE cores. It's got a bit more. So that was a possum out on the veranda. He has popped into other videos before. Yes, so what was I talking about? Oh yes, PE is more prone to waterlogging. Now PE, this is a PE deck skin, so a lot of people are still riding PE just on the deck and the rails. These are double PE rails and a PE deck, but most people have PP cores now, which is polypropylene core. But I guess what I'm getting at is this plug, for them to put this plug through, they've drilled through the core of this board. Now, I know that this is a polyethylene core. Now, like I said, with this damage here, if you get anything breaking these cells, be it a fin chop or a drill or a screwdriver, tearing through the cells of those, tearing through the walls of those cells, sorry, you're leaving the board open to getting some waterlogging. It might not be much, you might not care, but if you really wanted to seal this board up good and proper, take the plug out, dab a bit of the SpongeRez on the end of the plug, or even apply it in the hole with, I don't know, some like a pen or a screwdriver or something. You could apply some silicone or SpongeRez into the hole where the plug has been put, and then screw the plug back in, and that will sort of help stop water soaking into the core from around the plug. So if any water gets in underneath around the plug there, around the actual thread of the plug, water is just going to sit in there and over time soak into the cells of the core. So that's my hot tip for if you've got a PE core or any other water absorbent sort of core. I would do that whenever putting a plug in. Put a bit of silicone or SpongeRez around the threaded part, and then put the plug back in. Or do it when you're adding a new plug to a board. Yeah, so put a bit around the. But the only drawback of that is it's then bonding to the core. So you might, if you for any reason want to take that plug out later, you might have a little bit of drama doing that. You might not. It might just come out with it. But the main goal is just to sort of plug up those open cells for now, so that you're not adding more water in. So anyway, I'll stop rambling on. We've given the SpongeRez a go. I'll let that dry out for a day. It seems to be bonding pretty good. Just filled it in, protecting those cells from water now. And yeah, those tail corners are going to be much more secure. I'm happy with that, knowing that water's not going to sort of get in around the tail corners and underneath onto the core, and it might, it might have started delaminating some of those rails. You never know. So there you go. That was a quick little vid about patching up your board, your bodyboard, using SpongeRez or any other bodyboard safe silicone. It wasn't a total review of SpongeRez. I just wanted to use it in this review, in this little tutorial, sorry, just to help you if you need to sort of patch up some dings, cuts or whatever, and help your bodyboard sort of live another day. Alright, so that's pretty much it. I'm sure I've forgotten something. I usually do. So yeah, leave a comment if you've got any tips, pieces of equipment that you might use for fixing things on your boards. Let us know. It's always good to see different opinions and get some fresh ideas that might help other people. So yeah, by all means, drop a comment. If you found this helpful in some way, or if you approve of this video, great. Hit like. If you want to see more stuff like this, where I'm just playing around with bodyboards, surfboards, and sometimes skateboards, and reviewing things, yeah, hit subscribe, and you might see me next time here on KookShed. If you didn't like it, if you for some reason disagree with me, you didn't like the video, and you feel like hitting dislike, well, maybe just go for a surf, maybe turn off the computer or get off your phone, go for a surf, or go do something that makes you happy instead of lurking around on YouTube hitting dislike on videos. I'm sure there's a better way to interact with people. Okay, so I'll see you next time here on KookShed. Thanks for dropping in. Until next time, catch ya.